Hello! How are you guys doing today? I am Chelsea from Apple Blossom Way, and I'm the owner and artist there, and I have something really fun and cool to show you guys today. I think I say that every time, but this time I'm extra excited because this is actually my room that I'm working on. So, as you come on, say hello, tell me where you're from, and ask questions. If you watch this on the replay, feel free to ask questions as well, and I will try and answer them and help you out. You can always message me on my business page, Apple Blossom Way, and you can follow me there and ask questions as well. All right, so today we are going to be stenciling with 3D fiber paste and a mixture of paint. So I added this, I've been changing and updating my bedroom to kind of like a bohemian, zen, chill feel, a place I can relax. And so I added this raised wallpaper, it's paintable wallpaper on the sides of my window, and it kind of frames in my bed. But it has a really harsh line, and I don't love that. It kind of felt like it just cut off to me. And so I wanted to have a way that I could transition from the raised stencil from the wallpaper to raised stencil, and then into just my painted wall over there. And so this is the perfect way to do it. So I have I believe it's called the Moroccan stencil from Redesign with Prima. You can use any stencil. The 3D fiber paste is really awesome. What it is it's thick. So it's a textured paste. Let me show you. And it's really thick, and so it's going to give you a 3D effect when you're using it. I mixed mine with a little bit of wall paint, so I used the Wise Owl 1 Hour Ceramic Wall Paint. It's a matte finish wall paint. It's really durable, and I'm going to be able to clean it and that after, since I mixed them together, if I ever need to wipe down the wall. So I have my stencil supplies. Let's go over that first. So you need to know what you gotta have, right? 3D fiber paste, like I showed you, from Redesign with Prima. Let's see if we can get you guys a better view on that. I have my ceramic wall paint from Wise Owl. This is Snow Owl. It's just a pure white. You can use any paint, or you can apply it without adding paint. If you want to tint it, you could add a color and kind of tint it, or you can just use it straight, okay? I have paper towels, and I also have baby wipes. This is just if, I have a little area on my stencil that bleeds and I want to quickly wipe it away. Having little wipes is a really great way to do it, especially when you don't have the original wall paint color anymore. I have a couple of spatulas and Q-tips, obviously. I have Q-tips just in case I need to get in between a stencil line. But I have 3 different spatulas. You can get them at the hardware store. I like to have some that have some flexibility in them. And then I usually have one that's not flexible, that's really sturdy, but I have 3 different sizes. It's just nice to have those handy. I'm only going to be using one today, but you can get, you can even get spatulas from like the dollar store. You could even use your stir stick if you wanted to apply it, so you don't have to use that, okay? And then I've got my tape. So you can hold the stencil in place, but if you're going to be doing multiple stencils, it's a lot easier if you have tape, and then you can tape your stencil to the wall. So I just have some painter's tape, and this is going to kind of fade out. So I don't want another harsh line, and I don't want it to be perfect. I kind of want it to look distressed, and like it goes from this solid pattern, kind of fades into like a distress, and then fades into the gray paint. Okay, so this is a way to cover up holes and imperfections in your walls without having to repaint your whole wall, or if you don't have the same color, it's a way to kind of update it without having to repaint everything because you don't have the right color. All right, so I'm just going to take it. This is still a little bit wet. On my other side over here, I have it dry so I can show you the second step, but I'm just going to take it and I'm going to place it pretty close, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I want it distressed. So I'm going to place it pretty close. I'm going to kind of just eyeball, make sure we're pretty straight. Okay, and then I'm just going to tape it on. You don't have to use a ton of tape, just get it where you want it to be. I usually tape all 4 corners or the sides, makes it much easier. Oh, hold on. I have it backwards, you guys. It doesn't really matter. You can do it either way, but there is a little bit of the cut line's just a little bit different. So you can tell by your words down here in the bottom. I mean, like I said, I've used it both ways, but it's a little bit better if you have it on there. Let's see. Okay, so take 2. If you guys have watched my lives before, you know, we might even have a take 3. The good news is I don't have to put the dogs out if they bark today because my husband's home. Hooray! Although I did give away a free transfer last time because I had to do that and I felt bad. Sorry, you guys are way up there. All you can see is my messy bun. Okay. Now I have enough paint mixed up to do this stencil here, but I'm gonna need to mix more, so I'll show you guys how I mix it as well when we run out. And that should be okay on that paintable wallpaper. And so I've just mixed it in a tub that I had. You can use any type of tub that you want. Dollar store has lots of little tubs. They're great for mixing. You can get a bunch for, you know, $1. Usually a pack of 3 or something. So I have it all mixed together, and I didn't add too much paint, so it still has a really nice thick consistency. But you don't want to add too much paint or it will be runny, and then it's going to run underneath your stencil and you won't have a nice crisp stencil and you'll be sad. And you'll be spend a lot of time trying to fix it. And you guys say hi. Don't be shy. Don't be quiet. Say hi as you come on. I can see a lot of you are watching. I'm all alone here in my room. Okay. I'm just going to dig in here. This spatula's a little bit big for this, but okay. And I'm gonna take like, I don't know, like that much. And you can see the consistency. It's not gonna flop out and fall all over. Okay, and then I'm gonna start at the top and I'm gonna hold it down nice and tight. This is gonna help keep it from bleeding underneath the stencil. So if you hold it tight, you have better results. And I'm just gonna kind of put my paste around kind of wherever right now. Just get it on there and get it off my knife so it doesn't drip down onto my floor. And then I want this design part to be pretty crisp, but I'm not going to add too much over here because I kind of want to fade it. But I want the center design to be pretty consistent. Pull this right over here, and as you start going, it's going to kind of starting to stick to the wall itself, so you won't have to hold it as much the more that you go down. I don't want to stand in the way, so I'm going to kind of come to the side so you guys can see it better. And like I said, I'm just going to kind of fade it out here. I'm not going to fully fill in the design. Now, if you want to, you could just use the fiber paste. And then if you wanted to stencil the whole wall, oh, this is a little bit big to fit in here. Hold on. You could stencil the whole wall with just like the fiber paste. And then you can, when it's totally dry, you can fine sand it just so it's smooth. It doesn't have any sharp edges. And you can paint over the whole thing with like a roller. And then you'll have all one color instead of having like a 2 colored stencil. That makes sense. And I'll bring it all the way over here. Now when we go over to the other side where my stencil is dry, I'll show you how you can overlap stencils. And that will be helpful if you want a very consistent, very precise design. If you want it to be more distressed like I'm doing here, I'm okay with that because I'm going to add a little to the sides and it's not going to have to be perfect. I don't even think there's such thing as perfect anyways. It's all an illusion. Okay, so especially down here where I have some gap in my stencil, I'm going to want to hold that and then apply the paste, because that is going to give me a much more crisp design there, and it's going to keep the paste from sinking or seeping down underneath my stencil line. You guys, you can totally do this with the new stamps. That would be really rad. Not that, I mean, you can get a little bit of a 3D effect with the chalk paste if you wanted to use that, but you can just use the paint, wall paint or a chalk type paint, the chalk paste, and apply the stamps to your wall, and that would be really beautiful as well. I just wanted a raised look, so that's why I'm using the stencil. Okay, use my wipes. Now you want paper towels and wipes handy, that way you can wipe down the back of the stencil. If you had any run over, that's also going to help you get a nice crisp line as well. So let's go ahead and pull that off. Isn't that cool? It's awesome. See, and then I can take the stencil over here and I can kind of make it look a little bit, just put a little bit out there and make it look distressed, okay? So let's try that right now. I'm just gonna take my paper towel. And my stencil's probably really pretty clean on the back. I mostly just look for if there's anything like really sticking out. And I just kind of lightly go over the back of it. If I had a big smudge somewhere where it seeped underneath my lines, then I would take my wipes and really clean that and make sure it was really nice and clean, or I'm gonna have that smudge pattern all throughout my stenciled wall. Okay, so let's add, and my little shelf's in the way right now, so we're just gonna kind of work around it. And if I stick my stencil down on this, it's gonna smush it because this isn't dry. It takes probably a couple of hours to dry. You can hit it with a hairdryer if you want. Best practice is to let it completely dry and then continue your stencil pattern. So that's what we'll do on the other side. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of show you how I would do this if I didn't want to wait several hours, because I am not patient and I want it just to look kind of distressed without disturbing. So I'm just gonna take down the one side and the bottom, okay, and I'm gonna hold it with my hand here. And if it just barely touches it, it'll be okay, but I'm just gonna grab my little smaller spatula, hold this up with my hand, and we're just gonna kind of add maybe that little flower there would look cool. Maybe just a little bit right here. I'm sorry guys, I'm not trying to be in your way there. You're like, move, I can't see what you're doing. You're fine. Well, I'll get out your way. Okay, a little flower, maybe just a little bit right here. Eek. I may have touched that a little more than I wanted to. I feel like I'm doing like some type of weird yoga right now. Trying to stretch, reach this. Okay, cool. All right. We'll get a little bit of that flower there and maybe just a little bit down here. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like if you have it a little bit more distressed. You want to fill in enough so that you kind of get a pattern, but obviously not the whole thing. peel this one off. Oop. All right. Now, I'm gonna set that down and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. Okay, so there's some parts that I maybe not totally love. I love that it looks distressed, but this kind of looks like a blob, right? It doesn't really look like a distressed part. It kind of just looks like, oh, she smudged paint there. So I'm just gonna take my wet wipe. Actually, I'm gonna take a paper towel first. And while it's wet, I'm just gonna wipe it back. Oops. And then I'm gonna take my wet wipe and just go over it. And what I can do is, while I'm still wet up here, I can't do a continuous pattern. I can just kind of go and add it where I can add it for now. So anywhere that I don't really love, you could use a spatula for this part too. And then you could wipe it with a baby wipe, so that then you can save it and reuse it. That would be more resourceful. Would be, so I could take my little spatula and just scrape off those little parts that I don't like, that look like blobs. That's really part of the stencil, it's these parts, but it looks funny if I only have a tiny bit, right? You can't really see the true design of it, so if I kind of just scrape those off, then it looks more like a faded stencil, right? Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then I can just take my little wet wipe and boop, just erase that. Okay, so we'll wipe this up because I gotta do it while it's wet, and then we will go across the room on the other side of the bed, and I will show you when it's dry how you distress it and how you continue a pattern if you want it like a continuous pattern. Sound good? Okay. Oops. And you want to make sure it's completely dry before you sand it. You don't have to sand it, you could leave it, but I will show you why. Okay, that's good enough, because when I sand it, that's gonna all be kind of distressed and faded out. So let me take you guys back a little bit. Okay, so there's the bed, there's our harsh wallpaper, and then there is our stencil that will continue down, and then I'll just slowly fade it out across and go this way until we go right into the gray. Cool, huh? Okay, so let's hop over to the other side so I can show you how I continue the pattern and how I sand that down. So same thing before, I'm just gonna take my paper towel and just kind of wipe off the back. I feel like you guys are watching me clean. It's kind of weird. Okay, that's good. Okay. And let's go. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get you around. Sorry if that makes you sick or dizzy or whatever. Okay. Ooh. Okay, cool, we made it. Let's light you up so you guys can actually see what's going on. Okay, so we have, first, if I was going to continue the stencil, best practice is not to space it out like here, like I did on the other side. Best practice is to overlap my stencil by one, do the lower one. As soon as that's dry, overlap it by one, do the lower one. The reason I say as soon as it's dry is because I've mixed this with paint. It's more wet and more movable, and so you'll smudge it. Okay, if you want a really crisp line, let it dry. So you could go all the way across, then let it dry, and then come all the way back if you're doing a large wall. Just kind of plan on that. If you're just using the 3D fiber paste with nothing else, if you're careful, you can actually overlap the stencil just a little bit and continue your pattern. And it depends on the stencil. If you're using a really intricate stencil, you're better off to wait, let it dry and overlap. If you're using one that isn't as intricate, like the brick stencil or something like that, you're okay to just kind of overlap it a little and continue that way. All right, so let me set this down. Now this is dry, okay, and it has lots of texture, but it's sharp to my hands, okay, and nobody wants a wall that feels like they're gonna stick to it, like their cotton clothes are gonna get stuck to it or tear or something, right? So I'm just taking a 220 grit sandpaper, and if it's really hard, you might need a coarser grit, but 220 is typically good. And I just fold mine in half, or you can use the rad pads from Surf Prep, those are awesome. And then I'm just going to sand it. See, and now it's really nice and smooth. It still has that 3D raised look, but it's not hard or scratchy like this, which is perfect. Okay, let me do this, and then I will talk to you guys for just a second with a couple more tips. Okay, so best practice, best tips for using raised stencils, especially on a wall. I've done a couple of them, well, done many actually, and best thing to do, okay, wait, let it dry, overlap with intricate stencils. More simple stencils, you can overlap a little bit and continuously go about your pattern. If you are doing a wall and you're using a fiber paste, or even if you're using salt wash and plaster, any type of texture agent, you want to let it dry. I usually let mine dry overnight, and then I'll come back and I will sand it. Now it gets really, really hard, and sometimes it's hard to sand. And so the best, when I've done brick walls, I use my Surf Prep sander, my orbital Surf Prep sander with like 220 grit. Has a vacuum on it, so it sucks in all the dust, and then I can run it across the whole thing, and it makes it really fast and easy, and it's so tough. The finish is so tough that you're not going to sand through it. You can just kind of gently go over it, and it makes it quick work of it. You can use any orbital sander just with real fine sandpaper, and you can run over that, make quick work of it. Or you can do it by hand, that's totally fine too, and then you'll just want to make sure you lay a tarp down because it gets dusty, all right? Now, I could go over this with a glaze if I wanted to. That would be really, really beautiful. I could add like some brown tones or grays, blacks, anything, and then kind of tie it into my paintable wallpaper here, or I can leave it as is. You could even add, these would be beautiful with a glaze or a pearl metallic paint. This would be awesome to have like gold. That'd be really cool. So kind of think about that, go outside the box. I'm gonna finish this, and when I get it all done, I will post pictures and share with you guys. And I hope this inspired you to try something new and to find a more creative way instead of having to repaint your whole wall a different color. All right, have a good day, guys. See ya.